Let's welcome John Hagel. Thank you, John. Sorry for the 10-minute delay.
No
Welcome.
problem. It's a privilege to be able to share some perspectives with you today. I just apologize for not being there in person. And obviously, technology, while very powerful, has its limits, apparently. I think that the topic is very timely of the gathering. I applaud Jim Clark and his team for bringing this group together. I think it's hard to underestimate the magnitude of the challenge that technology is presenting regarding employment. Speaking here from Silicon Valley, I will tell you that the technologies are converging at a very rapid pace, everything from artificial intelligence and deep learning to sensor technology, big data, analytics, technology that facilitates movement of robots. And I think at the end of the day, given the technology changes, all workers are at risk. It used to be that we were worried about factory workers and manual workers as being replaced by robots. Now it's every worker, including knowledge workers. And I think obviously the key question on the table and for discussion today is what's the answer? How do we address this challenge? From my experience, many view the answer as just innovation. We'll create new jobs faster. And I think while certainly that may be helpful, it doesn't really address the real challenge. It's thinking much too narrowly. And in my view, the real challenge that we need to wrestle with is not job creation, but job redefinition. It's really rethinking work at a fundamental level and the institutional architectures that are required for work. It's a very different form of innovation. I think when most people talk about innovation, they focus on product and service innovation. What I'm talking about is more what I would describe as institutional innovation that goes to the most basic question of all, which is why do we have institutions and large companies in particular? And I believe the model that we've operated on for at least the past century, if not more, is what I describe as an institutional model of scalable efficiency. And the approach to getting scalable efficiency had to do with ensuring predictability and reliability of all work and tasks. And the best way to get efficiency is to tightly specify every activity that's performed, and then standardize those activities so they're done in exactly the same way everywhere, and then tightly integrate the activities, basically remove all those inefficient buffers in between activities, because that's not efficient. But if you think about it, tightly specify all activities, standardize all activities, tightly integrate all activities. What have we just done? We've defined work as basically as a computer algorithm. And if that's what work is, machines are going to be able to do that much more efficiently than human beings. We are unpredictable, unreliable, and we don't follow instructions very well. So if that's what work is, we've just put a bullseye on the back of every worker. And I think creating more of these kinds of jobs just buys time. It doesn't address the real challenge. So my belief is that if we're going to effectively address the challenge of technological unemployment, we need to reassess at a basic level the institutional rationale for why do we have companies? Why do we have institutions? Then the model of scalable efficiency, while it was very compelling over the past century, is under increasing challenge, particularly in a world of more rapid change and uncertainty. The typical traditional approach to efficiency is being undermined. And in that kind of world, I think the question is, what is the imperative? And in this world, my belief is we're going to move from scalable efficiency to what I describe as a scalable learning model, where the priority is speed of learning and speed of performance improvement. And the reason we're going to join institutions in the future is because we're going to learn faster as part of a larger institution than we ever would on our own or as part of a smaller organization. That's a very different rationale, and I believe in fundamental conflict with the scalable efficiency rationale that we've had. But if we take it seriously, I think it has some dramatic implications. It reframes work and really focuses us on work that taps into our uniquely human capabilities. If we're talking about accelerating learning and performance improvement, some of the key attributes for that kind of work have to do with imagination, creativity, emotional intelligence, social intelligence, things that are distinctively human rather than done by machines. And it also shifts our view of workers. Right now, in a scalable efficiency model, we basically view workers as an expense item. It's a cost to be reduced wherever possible. If you can't eliminate workers entirely, then lay off workers and squeeze harder on the remaining workers. In this view of scalable learning, suddenly workers become resources that are capable of increasing value and impact. And the challenge is, how do you create environments that help them to achieve more and more impact over time? I also will emphasize that when I talk about scalable learning, I'm not just talking about knowledge workers. Often there's a tendency to say, okay, learning, that's about people with skills, with knowledge. No, I'm talking about every worker in an institution has the potential to learn faster and to deliver more and more value and performance to the enterprise and to the marketplace. So if taken seriously, scalable learning applies to all workers within the enterprise. And it does more than that. It actually expands the horizons beyond the four walls of the enterprise. If you're really serious about scalable learning, one of my favorite quotes is Bill Joy's quote about, no matter how many smart people you have within your organization, just remember one thing: there are a lot more smart people outside your organization than inside. And so if you're serious about scalable learning, you need to find ways of identifying those smart people beyond your enterprise, and how do you build relationships with them that will accelerate learning and performance improvement across a broader group of people. So it really reframes our view of what work is. At many levels, I think, again, in the scalable efficiency model, we were conditioned to believe that work is a way to get a paycheck, to make a decent living. Increasingly, in the scalable learning model, ultimately, my belief is the people who will be most successful are those who manage to find a passion and integrate that passion with their work. That's the key to learning faster. If you look at the way people learn and how fast they learn, if they're really passionate about what they're doing, they will learn a lot faster than somebody who's just clocking time to get their paycheck. And that's a big challenge, because most workers today are not passionate about the work they do. So it involves a set of initiatives to try to, again, tap into passion, amplify passion, and provide an environment where they can pursue their passion. But if done right, it turns stress, the mounting performance pressure that is created by this big shift that we're going through, it turns that stress into excitement. Because if you're really passionate about your work, every unexpected challenge is an opportunity to get to that next level. And that's really exciting. And I will say, too, when I talk about institutional innovation and moving from scalable efficiency to scalable learning, my focus in the conversation so far has been around companies. But I will say that, in my view, all institutions are going to have to make this shift from scalable efficiency to scalable learning. I think one of the biggest ironies is that our educational institutions actually have grown in a scalable efficiency model. And what would scalable learning look like in an educational institution? What would it look like in NGOs, in government agencies? But the bottom line, I guess, of all of this is my belief if we're really serious about addressing the challenge of technological unemployment, is we need to reframe the challenge. I think too often it's positioned and presented as a technology challenge. We've got exponential technology that's advancing at an ever more rapid rate and eliminating jobs at an accelerating rate. If we view it just in those terms, we're going to have a very hard time addressing the challenge. I mean, the temptation is to try to stop technology improvement. Maybe that's an answer, but assuming that we can't, and I don't believe we will be able to stop it, the question is, can we reframe it as an institutional challenge? And how would we, in fact, redefine our institutions and redefine our work in ways that tap into our unique human capabilities and allow us to amplify those capabilities with technology, but not replace the people with the technology. And as an optimist from Silicon Valley, I believe we have the opportunity to shift from viewing this as a challenge to an opportunity that will allow us to rethink work at a fundamental level, and for the first time, design institutions and practices that are going to help us to achieve much more of our ever-expanding potential as humans. And that, to me, is an opportunity worth pursuing. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much, John. Wonderful. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and we will be in touch. And everyone here is grateful that you took the time to spend some time with us.
I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Bye. Okay. Who feels that they've